600,000. That's how many Shein and Temu packages are shipped to the United States every day. But their sharp rise in popularity has put a target on their backs, from concerns over data security.
There's a question whether these platforms, particularly Shein and Temu, are more data collection companies than they are even e-commerce platforms.
I'm shocked by the false accusation of forced labor anywhere else in China.
Will Chinese online shopping platforms be the next casualty of US-China rivalry?
The big question there is who wins in November? Who will be the next president of the United States?
You might have seen such clips on social media. Influencers showing off their purchases from online platforms like Shein, Temu, and TikTok Shop. These shopping platforms have blown up in popularity in the US in the past 5 years. Online fashion retailer Shein launched in the US in 2017. By 2021, it had surpassed Amazon in downloads to become the top shopping app that year. Combined, Temu, Shein, and TikTok Shop had sales of nearly $24.5 billion in 2023 in America.
Temu and Shein have been doing a lot on their marketing campaigns on social media. They have been targeting these young consumers on TikTok and Instagram. They tend to have more impulsive purchases. It's very hard to stop, okay, especially given very low prices. Okay, so that actually added to this big growth of these companies.
However, not everyone is so enamored with these apps. Last year, the US-China Economic and Security Review Commission submitted a brief to the US Congress on challenges posed by the two companies. It cited data risks, sourcing violations, and exploitation of trade loopholes as key concerns. Temu and Shein both have their roots in China. Similar to another app that has come under fire by the US government, TikTok.
It's a national security concern that TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is based in the People's Republic of China. And ultimately, any private company in China serves at the behest and exists at the behest of the Chinese Communist Party, which has put forth national intelligence laws that actually require any company operating in China to hand over data to the intelligence apparatuses in China if it is requested to do so.
TikTok denied links to the Chinese government, insisting that US user data is stored outside of China.
Data is stored here in American soil by an American company overseen by American.
We thought that, but leaked audio from 80 internal TikTok.
This has done little to assuage US lawmakers.
Okay, so it is possible.
The algorithms decide what information is amplified and what information is suppressed. That's a major concern for the US government, that basically the Chinese government could use TikTok to inform US political discourse, which is a form of foreign interference.
The ability to collect all this information on American voters with the ability to decide what content they see when, that's a really dangerous combination.
So, in April 2024, President Joe Biden signed a law to ban TikTok. TikTok is currently fighting the ban in court. Beijing was critical, citing the ban as another example of the US unfairly curtailing Chinese economic growth.
Such concerns are very much based on hysteria and false belief that everything about China is the wrong thing, is the hostile thing. And for American decision makers to really believe that the Chinese government or China as a whole will have any interest in private data in the US consumers, for example, is ludicrous. Why should anyone bother about private data in the United States?
Whatever the case, Temu has not lost its appeal among customers. Marketing automation platform OmniSend found that only 7% of 1,000 Americans surveyed trust Temu. Yet, 68% of them will still use the app. Data harvesting, de minimis loophole, environmental protections, and forced labor allegations. With all these concerns, are restrictions on Temu and Shein imminent? Some clues of their fate could hinge on what happens to TikTok on January 19. That's the current deadline for the social media platform to sell to an American company or be forced to shut down. In the end, as these Chinese-linked platforms continue to grow, they will receive increased congressional, business, and public scrutiny, all against the backdrop of the growing US-China rivalry.
I would think that that all of these are part of that geopolitics that we are seeing at the moment. So it's not only like the social media and the e-commerce platforms, but also over many areas, right? EVs, new energy, batteries, chips, and stuff. So I think the contention between the two major powers would touch upon many sectors.
It's important to recognize that many countries have concerns about the fast fashion business model and about the potential for exploited workforces, perhaps forced labor in the supply chain. US-China tensions don't necessarily drive those economic and business concerns, but I think one impact of US-China tensions is that it makes it more difficult for Chinese companies to address those concerns in Washington when they're dealing with regulators. And it's increasingly difficult to distinguish between a private company and a publicly owned or state-owned enterprise in China. And that's going to act as a constraint on Chinese businesses in the United States over the long term.
The big question there is who wins in November? Who will be the next president of the United States? I would think that under a Trump administration, you're going to see more aggressive actions against China and more likely bans and prohibitions on Chinese e-commerce apps. Under a Harris administration, I think there will be firm action against China, but it will take more of a tone of negotiation between the two countries.
I'm afraid this anti-China hostility to China, China bashing will continue for quite some time. The next 4 years will probably be even worse. This kind of bashing China as if that is the only right thing.